now we're moving to Oslo again. Our sustainability lead, yes, we have a sustainability area in our agency, and emartas is responsible for that. So he's also in Oslo together with Agla, and he will tell us about the relationship between identity and communities and why it matters. And let's see what's there. So back to Oslo. emartas, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi everyone. Nice to be here actually in Oslo. Behind me there is not this way, a growing moss as a painting, just to say that. It's an amazing artwork done by humans, made by nature. So I'm gonna talk about it, I guess, today also when I'm gonna talk about the communities. I'm gonna focus a little bit on nature as well, so as a spoiler alert. But first of all, I would like to, thank to other people, other communities whom I learned from. Of course, one of the big shout outs is for the Norwegian, actually, philosopher Arne Næss, who coined the term deep ecology. My presentation also owes the thanks to the Timothy Beatley, who has written extensively on land ethics. He recently published a very wonderful book on bird-friendly city. So also a shout out to designers to read it out. And last but not least, I'm gonna mention some takeaways from the intergovernmental platform on biodiversity and ecosystem services, as the short version would go IPBES. So I'm gonna talk about the communities and how they act out. But first of all, I think we need to kind of describe or define what is the community. So basically, I highlighted the most important things which I'm gonna address. So community is a social unit based or have the common values and identity, as well. Sometimes or quite often they share a sense of place. It could be dedicated or given in a geographical area or in virtual space. Some examples about what could be the community. Community could be these professionals who are working on the main topic, as the city planning, for instance. Might be coming from different communities, from academics, from practitioners, developers, and so on. Then there are communities who live what they do. So these are communities, as we can see in the cities, different ones, as you can see, right? So one is, and also how they act on within those communities. We also know about communities that express themselves without us seeing them. So this is also an interesting community. We just know that they exist, but we don't know who they are. Some communities are based on work. Some communities are based on fun. And some communities come for the better cause. So this is a picture from Lithuania when the developer wanted to cut the trees in front of the building, and all community came together and opposed that decision. So these are just examples about different communities, but what is important about that they all produce knowledge, and they also describe the world. So it's also what community does. They form the descriptive knowledge, which is basically how the things are, what they see, what are the things, and then they prescribe knowledge, so basically how things ought to be. So these are different types of knowledge, but they are inherently existing in the community itself. So basically, the descriptive knowledge helps us to understand and interpret the world as it is from different communities' perspective, and the world might be very different actually in different communities, as well as the prescriptive knowledge, which offers guidelines and recommendations how to live basically in the world. What is more tangible, in a sense, what communities do, they produce the space. So basically, when we talk about the space, we should kind of have three different notions, which are coming from Henri Lefebvre. So these notions are material space. So basically, this is the physical space all around me. For instance, what kind of community produced this space around me? Then what kind of representations of space exist? So what they represent with this space, for instance, what values they use, what aesthetics, what worldviews, and so on. And of course, there is a lived space, so everyday activities that happen in this space. So all of that is formed by different communities. So when we think about the space, we should think that space is not a merely kind of a physical entity, but also socially produced and lived reality. What that does, it gives power, so to say, because the knowledge and the space, the tangible outcomes of the knowledge, so to say, they might have profound effects on individuals and societies. So everything communities produce, that has an effect on us. And this is very important to think about it, because this is a realm of responsibility, and this is how communities bear the responsibility to make those decisions that are inclusive, for instance, or beneficial to everyone, right? So let's talk about a very big community, which is our planet. And here I'm showing the Stockholm Resilience Center's piece of work, a bit adapted by our designers because they thought that they're gonna make it nicer in a nicer shape, regardless that. But this is the graphic that demonstrates that we cannot overshoot the planetary limits or ecological ceiling, as they say. And this is the graphic that shows that there is a social foundation and we should take care of ourselves and our communities, which is very important. And I would like to show you or demonstrate or give you an example how those different emanations of knowledge of how the spaces are formed decides our relationship with nature. So in the recent report by the EIPBS, as I mentioned before, they discussed about the what are our values on nature. And they separated 4 different types of values. They analyzed like 13,000 articles, scientific articles. And then they said there are 4 types of relations between us and nature. So there is one which is the most obvious one, I guess, in the nowadays situation, that is living from nature. So basically, the nature provides, like the logic from 1700s. Then there is another one, living in nature, which is also treating nature as a house. So basically, what kind of relation do we have, and what kind of resources we need to sustain our living from nature, to support us. Then there is living with nature. So this is more relational situation, that we relate to nature. We know what it is, that we express our feelings towards other more than human beings. And there is the last one, living as nature. So it's basically embodying and treating ourselves as a part of nature, as a physical one. So the most of those 13,000 research papers state that vast majority of our understanding about the world is that we are living from nature. So this is very important, and this is what I wanted to demonstrate, that what kind of values community brings, and how that changes profoundly how we see ourselves in the world. And this kind of colors the power in a bit more different taste, so to say. And what path we prefer to take and why we take it says a lot about ourselves, about our community which we are in. So as another example from Arne Næss, the guy from Norway, philosopher, it's about developer. So he says in his book that there is no way of making the developer eager to save a forest as long as he or she retains the conception of it as a set of trees. So this is very important, that we think about it, how communities act, but also even more important, who is acting out and who is represented, right? So in the developer's perspective, coming back to that, there are many power asymmetries that exist in the world, and sometimes we like to kind of, some people like manipulate participatory practices, and this is very easy, but it becomes difficult if you address power symmetries and then you start inviting everyone into consideration. So this is a very important part, how you address that, and you should be aware what kind of representation you are hearing. So understanding how communities act out, it's very, very important, and what knowledge they produce, if we are coming back to the knowledge topic, how they produce that knowledge, and why they are producing it. Same goes to the space. So what kind of space they create, how they create it, and of course why they create it. So understanding that is the key about when you want to invite different stakeholders and different communities in the process of development of something that has a profound impact on them, right? So what values we choose to base our decision, and then who is excluded. It's very difficult sometimes to understand who is excluded in the conversation. And then what is even more difficult, what give the voice to those marginalized groups, right? So we need to understand and dig into the values of unrepresented, right? So why they are unrepresented, and then who is unrepresented in human society, in nature, in biosphere, right? So this is very important, and inviting everyone to participate in the process is super important, because the ways communities are acting out are different. So to give them a chance to present themselves, it's very also important. And the sensitivity to subjectivity is the key, basically. We need to treat communities always as active agents and never as mere objects. So I invite everyone to enlarge your knowing and listen carefully to the communities and what they have to tell. And last but not least, I would like to share an example of one wonderful community, a huge one. Yeah, so you just had a chance to meet a wonderful community that is here to tell many things, but can we hear them? So back to you, Dominikas.
Thank you, emartas. I hope that the connection is right and you can hear me properly, because there's a lot of noise happening behind me. Because for the panel discussion, I went to the rooftop, to the hotel rooftop bar that we created the identity of, and it again was recognized, and it was a very sensitive one. Neringa Hotel, sensitive in case because it has a huge history, and it was very important to be careful what to change and what not to. So I'm here, and as you can see behind me, it's Vilnius, and the rooftop from what you can see, a beautiful city. So come if you are not from Vilnius, visit, beautiful place. And emartas, I have a question to you. Usually we focus on negative aspects, or negative aspects of what should be improved in terms of sustainability, in terms of community engagement, and so on. But maybe you could share with us some moments or maybe examples what is happening in Lithuania that promises that brighter future for us, and that can, have those glimpses of hope that the things are getting better in the sustainability realm, in the community's territory, engagement, and so on. So from your perspective, maybe some examples or few moments related to that.
I think what is very important is to the growth of eco-philosophy, so to say, and that kind of approach. Not necessarily, we do need and we have the knowledge of ecology, and this is very important that in the processes there are professional people from biology, neurology, any kind of nature people are invited into for instance, into development processes, into the processes when we develop parks, when we develop certain real estate places. But what is also very important that we invite people from social sciences and humanities, actually, because they have the tools and methods for that grasp of subjectivity. So this is, I think, a very nice trend which is happening all over the world, I would say, or at least, you know, in the EU for sure. How like European Commission is treating, you know, their proposals and their projects, and that they appreciate the transdisciplinary approach towards that. So I think this is a very good trend, and in a sense that, you know, we get to work a lot with different places actually, and that the clients understand the value of that keen wish to understand the subjectivities and different ones, and then unveil them. So I think this is the main kind of positive trend which is happening right now in the eco world, so to say, but coming from social sciences and humanities.
Thank you, Žemartas. I mean, for the audience to understand, Žemartas, when he's talking from sustainability territory, is always keen on details and trying, you know, to find places that has to be improved. So when he's talking about the things that are good, so they're really, really good. So it's the same related to Vilnius, which is beautiful, and so the things are getting better. We're working with in a sustainability territory.